Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode of Astrology Interviews. And today we're going to be conducting an interview of one of the most amazing and one of the most brilliant Vedic astrologers that I've known for the past 7 years, Sri Das Gurvani. I was first introduced to him on YouTube because he was one of the very earliest astrologers teaching and talking about astrology and other aspects of the Hindu religion on YouTube. So he is very technically savvy. He knows all his technology. He is a programmer himself. He has a astrology software called Jyotish Studio, which he's going to talk about as well. And it's just a privilege for me to do this interview because he is like that lost gem of Vedic astrology. He's literally like that rare black diamond. And the reason why this interview is happening now, because this interview has been in works for 4 months. But the reason why it happened now and the way it's going to take place is a bit different than my other interviews. This is not going to be something live on Google Plus where the interaction is happening live. I'm actually going to be asking him the questions here, and Mr. Gurvani is going to be answering them on his side from his home in Oregon. Oregon, yeah. And the reason why this is happening this way is because Mr. Gurvani has mild autism and mild Asperger syndrome. And it's very hard for him to, focus and concentrate on a single aspect of an interview and, keep going. It doesn't work that way because his brain needs to process everything for him to put up the camera, the lights, and then answering the questions through his, amazing hard drive here. It's quite a work. So this is why I gave him the questions earlier. He answered them. So let's begin our very first question, which is obviously that everybody wants to know is how did you got started in Jyotish and what made you fall in love with Vedic astrology?
Well, thanks for having me on your show, Kapil. Thank you very much. I'm honored, and it's a great pleasure to do this with you. And it's a great honor to speak to so many people. I became a Hare Krishna devotee at age 19, halfway through college. That was 1979. And so in the movement, I heard of Jyotish, and in 1981, I had my chart read. And that did not amaze me because I was young and my life lay ahead of me. A lot of the things he said were yet to come, and they did come true, actually. But I did not get turned on by Jyotish at that time. It didn't come to me. I had much to do as a young husband and father. Many years later, 1993, May 27th, I pulled this book off the shelf. My friend wrote it. It's written by a Hare Krishna devotee. He's on the back. It's How to Read Your Horoscope, The Basics of Bona Fide Astrology by Nalini Kanta Das by Tom Hopke. That's his real name. I just pulled that book off the shelf and I started reading it, and it said, I got really interested, and it said, well, at this time I was 33 and I was making a lot of money and my marriage was on the rocks, and I was on the rocks with the movement, and my life was at a high pitch. And I was wondering about who am I more than before. And I took the book off the shelf and I noticed some readings were in there, and I just thought, God, I got to cast my chart. Well, I have my chart. And so I went and got it out, and I looked at it and the readings in the book for the planets, and they were correct for me, very much so. And that instant moment, I fell in love with Jyotish on May 27th, 1993, in the mid-afternoon. And I read in the book then that you need certain other books to do charts manually, like a table of rising signs and an ephemeris. So I called Paralandria Bookstore in Eugene, and they had them. And we zipped down there, me and my wife, and I bought them and Bipin Bihari's books, Vedic Astrology and Planets in the Signs and Houses, which are two great books. The best. Really good. I went home, and that afternoon I cast the charts of my 4 family members, me, my wife, and our 2 kids, manually, and looked up their readings in now 2 books, and found them to be true. I was a programmer and a Hindu leader. I became one at 19, and now I'm 33, and in the Eugene, Oregon area, I'm well known. And I clicked new program, and I created GORAVANI Jyotish that afternoon. And as I studied in the books, I made the program. And 1 year later, I released it. I learned Jyotish from books and tapes. I never had an official guru whatsoever. I have a very good ability to read and study and learn by that. I am not like most people in reading speed nor retention. I'm better. I tested genius at 8 in fast math application. That means your mind is very good at, it's like a faster computer than most other people's. I would say I learned Jyotish in, 3 months. Those are the first 3 months when I read Brihat Parashara Horashastra, Saravali, and Jataka Parijata. And when I read these books, it wasn't like any white person, because I was a white person who had been an orthodox, strict brahmachari in the ancient system of Gaudiya Vaishnavism in Bengal since I was 19. I had never been to a bar. I had never partied. It wasn't a part of my life. I was a monk since very, very young. First Catholic, then Hindu. So when I and the books met up, something special happened, because I was a very trained person at 33. I knew a lot of Sanskrit, and I knew all the persons and characters that Jyotish was mentioning, who are in this book, the Puranic Encyclopedia by Vetamani. This book, you know everybody in this book automatically if you read all the Puranas like I did. So I was, although white, I was a mega Hindu from age 19, especially the first couple years. The leader of the Hare Krishna movement, one of them, took me around the world with him, and took me around the world with him 2 times. And okay, when I was 19 and I joined the Hare Krishna movement, the leader of that area, one of the 11 gurus of the world, took me as his personal servant immediately, because he saw that the temple system would harm me. I was too fragile, and I was smart. So he took me to his side, made me his secretary and servant. And we traveled around the world for 2 years, and I saw a lot of India, all of Sri Lanka, and countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, and then on the other side, Burma, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, and also I went to Europe with him. And but I was by his side through 2 years of high Hare Krishna politics from 79 to 81 period. It's quite heavy. Anyway, when this white boy at 33, who was really a hidden Hindu since 19, but now living in Eugene, Oregon like a covert parent, when he opened the Sanskrit classics that he ordered from JDR Ventures in Ohio, they came and he knew what they were talking about, because apparently they're written like at the same time as the great classics of Hinduism, like one of my favorite books, the Mahabharata. 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 Bharat. Bharat. Shatrugna. Ow. The Mahabharata is a great book, and it tells the stories of the gods and the kings of earth, and you learn all about Brihaspati. And then when I found out in astrology that Brihaspati was the Jupiter planet, well, I already knew all about Brihaspati, so I wasn't like most white people learning astrology. That's a fact. I was a highly advanced student, not, master of Hinduism and even scriptural Sanskrit. So I took to the Jyotish books very easily, and I was an expert programmer at database programming. I had been doing it for years in the corporate world, and so I was an able 33-year-old guy. And Jyotish hit me, and I was inside. I was deeply a Hindu. Me and my wife were Hare Krishna devotees. We were ideal Hare Krishna devotees. So, idealistic and ideal. We were really the ideal in many ways. So, we also lived strict Sanskrit marriage for a while. All of it. So I chanted Sanskrit a ton as a kid, instead of going to bars. Instead of going to college, I went to Brahmacharya and learned Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Prityaja, Mamekam Saranang Vraja, Hang Twang Sarva Papebhyo, Mokshaya Shami Masuchaha. Matrat Sparasas Tukontea, Sitoshna Sukadukada, Hagamapai no Nitjas, Tam Statik Shashwa Bharata. I taught myself Jyotish. I just read books. Because I'm really smart, it worked. And I could tell you which ones I recommend. But, I tell people, follow your heart.
Thank you, Mr. Goravani. That was just one amazing journey that you told us about. My next question for you is, what are some of the key factors that people should know when studying their own chart or chart of their family or chart of other people? What are some of the main key factors that they should always know and always remember regarding Rashi chart?
Okay. The important key factors to keep in mind when studying a chart in Jyotish are: the first house is the overall person. Yet, the finest division that lagna falls in is also the overall person, the 64th part chart, which helps differentiate twins. But remember, the first house is king of deciding about the person. And then the moon sign, and then the sun sign, and then all the signs. And effects upon the moon and lagna can limit or flourish the chart. The rest of the chart has no value if those are crushed. And that's a key factor to start with. Just as when you ask a prashna question of a Jyotish, you ask a question and he does a chart at that time to give you an answer. The very first thing about reading a prashna chart is the Lord of the 10th good? Is the 10th house good? Because that simply means, yes, it will rise, because the 10th house is rise. So, key factors in reading a chart. Know that the 4 angles, 1, 4, 7, 10, are the block sides of the building of the life. They're the material sides of the building of the life. If they're strong, the material life will be strong. The trines, 1, 5, and 9, 1 playing a dual role, especially 9, then 5, then 1. They are your holy self, lucky self, special self, beyond the basic materials. Your descending trine, 3, 7, 11, it's the other trine that makes a Star of David out of your chart. if you make your chart round. That is your material trine. 3 is doing this stuff. 7 is your trade, the tip of your spear down, your trade, the people you make deals with. One great Indian guru once said that marriage, which is also ruled by the 7th house, is nothing but a deal you make with an enemy to be friends, or something like that. 3, 7, and 11 are your material trine pointing down. Hopes and wishes, your trade, and the little work you're willing to do to pull it all off. All the work. 3 is also, it's your arms. Are you willing? Do you have the Shakti means power, just like shock, electrical shock. Shakti from Mars.
Do you got the power, baby, or not? Mars is a yes-no planet.
Mars is a yes-no planet. It's either yes or no, this side of the blade or that. You know, you're either on this side of the gun or that side. They get blood going and then they race over to stop it. Those are Mars boys. Isn't that interesting? In analyzing a chart, you look to see where's the emphasis going. Where did the person go? That's where did the first lord go? What house it went to, it tells you immediately, this is the emphasis of the person. For one reason or another. Because houses are parts of life. And parts of inside you and relatives and so forth. And it tells you where they went. Like mine's in the 12th, so that's the house of bed pleasures and loss and hospitals and whatnot. Well, I have Asperger's syndrome, which keeps me at home and sort of in that kind of world a little bit, but I'm definitely in my own world because it's mild autism. So it's considered an internal, private, own world house, and I live there. That also helps with my studies. You look at in reading a chart, you look at the direction everything's going. Like there's this term, bhavat bhavam, which means from house to house, count. How far did each lord go? Where did each lord go? So those 4 walls, 1, 4, 7, 10, where did the lords go? What does that tell you about the person? They should go to places of keen interest, of defense and repairment and, keeping things up and blah, blah, blah. Like they should exchange houses, as good soldiers. But where did they go, Like my 4th lord's in the 11th, that's 8th from itself. See, that's bhavat bhavam, counting. The 4th went 8th from itself. That means did your mother commit suicide? No, but almost. I mean, she raised 11 kids alone in poverty. It was very difficult. So her depression greatly affected me, and my moon is there with K2, and I have depression a lot. It's in my chart that my mother and I share it, and then I have it. Yeah, it's all there in the chart. Like the 4th, the 10th from the 4th is your first, your body. The mother's rise in life, your mother's rise in your life is if she takes care of your body. So if the first house is fortified, it means the mother did her job.
Thank you so much for that answer. My next question for you is that what system of astrology do you follow? Because there are different branches in Vedic astrology like, Parashara, Gemini, KP, Nadi, Bhrigu Nadi, Jyotish. What system of Jyotish do you follow?
The type of astrological system I follow is Parashara because it was in the books by B.V. Raman, and it was also in the book by Tom Hopke, the first one I read, and basically it was in the books of Bipin Bihari as well. And Northern was also shared by the first few Jyotishis I met. So I've always used Northern and Parashara and just the Lahiri Ayanangsa.